What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the GSN Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, John J. II, and thank you for joining us for another episode 92 of the GSN pod. Thank you guys so much for all the support. It's been a hell of a ride. You guys know everything this show has been through in the past, and everything that has happened throughout the entire journey has been great. It's been a blessing. So thank you for being with us tonight. Got a big show for you. A lot of happening in the sports world, as you may know. And it never ceases to surprise us what the sports world has to offer us. From the actual eclipse, the solar eclipse that took place. We talked about it with Sobo going into Masters Week. Happens very timely with this sports eclipse, which we're experiencing right now. And we're seeing it take place from the NBA play-in tournament to the NHL playoffs to the Masters, one of the premier majors in the PGA Tour and the golf scheme in the golf world landscape, etc. And then the WNBA draft, which is really taking the world by storm with star players, including Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, and many others. So we'll talk about all that tonight, and we're happy to do so. But first thing we got to talk about is Masters Week, which, as you may know, Scottie Scheffler will receive and did receive his second green jacket at the Masters with his wife in labor. And personally, I don't know how I really feel about, commentators, announcers, etc., really kind of jamming it to him, saying, hey, well, if your wife goes into labor coming down the back nine on Sunday, you're in the lead. What are you going to do? He said very cordially that he would leave, that he would take off to witness the birth of his first child, which was the correct answer. Thank God that didn't get put to the test on Sunday when that was exactly the case. He was fighting for position, and it was just a hell of a round. And just with all the stardom that they were giving him, all of the accolades they were giving him prior to the first round on Thursday, it was really impressive to see him hold it together and battle and find the way. And, with Bryson playing well up until the weekend, the live golfer, we were all kind of thinking maybe this guy's going to pull away with it. Maybe Bryson's going to pull away with the Masters and go on and win it. And in essence, do it for live. In essence, he would do it for live. And the Live Golf Tour. That wasn't the case. The PGA Tour prevailed. And just look at a previous line that we looked at very briefly last week going into round one. Scottie Scheffler was plus 475, the obvious favorite, the only one in three-digit numbers for plus money. Plus money, everyone's in plus money in a golf tournament. It's so hard to call it. It's so hard to, look at it and be like, you know what, we're going to put this number next to this guy's name, and this is what it's going to be. Not with Scottie Scheffler. He's proven himself to be a force in the world of golf, to overcome pressure, to overcome everything that's against him. And I'm really impressed with this guy. He's doing great for the game of golf and really bringing a lot of respect to the PGA Tour, bringing a lot of, how do you want to put it? You could put it any way you want. Bringing a lot of stature to the PGA Tour, which has kind of gone to the wayside with big stars, big names going to the Live Golf Tour. We talk about it week after week after week. Almost every time Sobo's on the podcast, we got to talk about Live. So not the best performance from Live, not the best performance from the previous champion, Jon Rahm, coming in well over par. And make it to the weekend. The cut was steep. I believe it was 6 over. Tiger even made it to the weekend, and he said he's coming back for more. So that's exciting stuff. It's always a good thing to see Tiger in the mix, especially on the weekend. And he's never missed a cut at the Masters, which I thought was a good stat to put on the board. He's still got it. He's got a long ways to go, obviously battling injuries and whatnot. But hats off to Scottie Scheffler, man of God. Just a very stand-up guy, and he's going to have people that hate him. He's going to have people that dislike him because he's good, because he has what it takes to be the best. He's world number one for the reason, he's held on to that position at world number one for quite some time, which is, worth its respect in gold. So I'm happy what I'm seeing. I'm happy with what I'm seeing with Scottie Scheffler. He's putting on a show. He's just really good for the game of golf. I can't give enough accolades to this guy. And he's just going to continue to win. He's going to continue to win. He's going to continue to be the betting favorite week after week when he's in tournaments. So obviously going to be a new father. How will that affect the betting odds? I don't know. He's obviously going to want to take some time and spend it with his family, I'm sure. And we'll have to see how that plays out with the bettors. But hats off to you if you took Scottie Scheffler plus 475, the favorite going into the tournament plus 475. And I'm sure those odds fluctuated going into the weekend. Didn't follow him too closely, but I was peaking. So hats off to Scottie Scheffler. Big major, the Masters week. It's sad to see it come to an end. It's a tradition like no other. But all great things must come to an end, and it's a great addition to the sports eclipse, as previously mentioned. So we got to talk about the Red Wings winning a big one against the Montreal Canadiens in OT in a shootout. But that was all for nothing. Essentially, it all came crashing down with the Washington Capitals scoring a goal. And why the Flyers pulled their goalie, I don't think I'll ever know. Nobody can tell me and give me a valid reason why they pulled their goalie in that situation. So if you watch the game, then you know what I'm talking about. If you didn't, then you have some film to watch. So go back, watch the film, and you can kind of share in my agony as the Red Wings basically pulled off a miracle on ice. David Perrin scores with 3 seconds left to send the Wings to OT. Then a shootout ensued, and they won it. And they've been playing great hockey as of late, so it would have been nice to see them go and make it to the playoffs, which, the Stanley Cup playoffs is a tournament that the Red Wings are not, they're very used to the Stanley Cup playoffs, being in the playoffs. And that's why we talk about Detroit teams. We talk about Michigan teams week after week all the time. And I see people giving them props. You got to give it up for the city, give it up for the 313, no matter what sport it is. I respect that ideology. And but you also got to hold your teams accountable. And that's what I've been doing with the Detroit Lions for the better part of a decade, maybe more. Keeping them accountable, holding them to a very high standard, regardless of the personnel. And that's in regards to personnel, the Red Wings had it. They had it. They had the personnel. They had the players. They had the team. They just fell short. This goes to show, and I talked about it with all my people. Every game matters. Every minute matters. Every period matters. Every goal matters. Every save matters in regards to hockey, but you can emulate that with pretty much everything in life. Every day matters. Every opportunity matters. So that's the lesson to be learned here. And it should not go to the wayside. It should not be forgotten about. So it came down to the wire, came down to a few points. And with that happening, the Flyers, the Penguins, and the Red Wings were knocked out, with the Flyers pulling their goalie. So they kind of screwed 3 teams over, including themselves, by the decisions they made. So now we're dealing with the Stanley Cup playoffs. Stanley Cup playoffs are now taking place. And we got to watch the teams, got to focus on the teams that are in, because that's all that matters now, the teams that are in. Who will make it to the finish line? That is the question. So, as we all know, we got to talk about Caitlin Clark. So she just recently signed a deal as the first overall pick in the WNBA with the Indiana Fever. I want to make sure I'm saying that right. The Indiana Fever, to get a initial salary of just over $76,000, which people are up in arms about. And I guess we live in a day and age where sports are very largely based in money and in monetary value. A lot of things are based out of monetary value. But with that being said, you're talking about the WNBA. What is the WNBA as it is today? What does it stand for? Where is it going? What does the future look like? And all these questions are valid. But wherever the WNBA is right now, it's just not in a position to be able to pay out these athletes, even first overall picks, which is unfortunate. I think it has to be upped. It has to be competitive somewhat to the NBA. It's a world-class organization, regardless of ratings or anything that has been thrown at the WNBA compared to other major leagues and other professional leagues. As far as the men's circuit, I think it has to be more comparable. Maybe not identical, but it has to be comparable. Okay, we're talking about, not even $100,000, where a lot of these male athletes and men's leagues are getting opening contracts, first year contracts, very oftentimes not first overall picks, are getting tens of millions. So there's a discrepancy there. And I don't think it's a discussion between men and women as two groups. I think it's more of a conversation of where is the notoriety, where is the want and need for a sport like this, and to see the show that Caitlin Clark put on with the Iowa Hawkeyes, especially in the playoffs, the March Madness there with the women, that was a sight to see. That was a joy to watch, and I was very happy. I was anticipating those games, the LSU Iowa rematch. To watch Paige Beckers and UConn go battle against Iowa and Iowa squeak by them, and then to see South Carolina go on and win it all. That was a big Final Four. A lot of great teams took part rather in that Final Four. Even NC State trying to make a Cinderella run compared to the men. Not the best of results for either of them, but I think that the showness, the stardom, the entertainment side of it might have been lacking. I think it's been lacking in WNBA, and that's why it hasn't brought in the numbers that it's might have expected to. But I think that's about to change. I think the tide is about to shift in the direction of the WNBA. People are watching. People are watching for Caitlin Clark, seeing what she's going to do at the next level. They're following her with almost a cult following. It's a sight to be seen. I'm happy with what I'm seeing, and it brings entertainment to women's basketball, which I think is something that it's needed for a long time and on more of a grand scale. I think that'll bring a lot of success to the WNBA and hopefully bring some more competitive salaries to these women that are playing in the WNBA. But you look at the different things that Caitlin Clark has going for, very likely, this is very likely, she was probably making more money in NIL deals at Iowa than she is making now in the WNBA with her contract. So you might be able to see a problem with that. Okay. But with that being said, she has many sponsorships. Gatorade, State Farm, Nike, Xfinity, H&R Block, and the list goes on and on. So those contracts, those deals that are made for advertising purposes, those are going to be kept. Those are going to be, compounded upon. Obviously, Caitlin Clark is going to be fine, okay, as far as money is concerned and monetary assets. Don't have to worry about it. The problem is with the structure of the entire league. And that's, I think they're going to see some changes because they're facing a lot of heat right now. What those changes are, I don't know. It's yet to be seen. But I think Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, a lot of these players, Paige Beckers, they bring a lot of entertainment to the game of basketball for the women's side that I think is very much needed. It's needed on a grand scale to bring more hype, to bring more better media reviews to the WNBA. I think it's going to be beneficial. But all these deals, et cetera, that are basically extra deals, they're going to help these athletes prosper and reach new heights. But you'd just like to hope that that's the same case for the league. So we'll see how that takes place. We'll see where that moves. That's going to move in the right direction. I'm very confident here in the next couple of years. women's basketball is going places. Let's put it that way. The 2024 NFL Draft is taking place in Detroit, and I know my people in Detroit are happy about it. They feel good. They feel elated. They feel electric. And they should, because they have a team that they can be proud of. They have a team that made a playoff run. Okay? And to bring the draft to Detroit, which was already in the plans, it was in the plans before they went on their playoff run. It's going to be good for the city of Detroit. They've been setting it up for months. They are excited. They're happy. And they're looking forward to, having this and hosting the NFL draft in their city. And they should be. This news came across my desk earlier today. Bill Belichick will join star punter Pat McAfee to host his NFL Draft Spectacular on Thursday. And it should be noted that Bill Belichick has yet to find a head coaching job. He is out of a job right now. He is unemployed. So it was said that he had given interviews to and with the Atlanta Falcons. Those didn't pan out in his favor. And unfortunately for Bill, no one else has really came knocking. They might see him. He's a 72-year-old guy. Obviously, his accolades and his rings speak for themselves from his tenure at the New England Patriots. That speaks for itself. You don't need any more accolades than that. But what is he capable of doing with another program, another franchise? Where is his ceiling? Has his ceiling been reached? Has his ceiling been far behind him for quite some time? Those questions are yet to be answered. That probably adds to the list of concerns for up-and-coming franchises, organizations that are looking to build, looking to bring youth into the program. So is that going to be a determining factor for Bill? I don't know. I think he's going to find himself a job here in the dying embers. But I think Bill would much rather be in a position where he is in the driver's seat right now so that he can make decisions come the draft. Now it's going to be post-draft decisions that he's going to count on his head office for if he finds a head coaching job. I don't think he'll settle for anything less. I can't see Bill Belichick going in as a coordinator or an upstairs guy. That's just not his style. So he's going to be a head coaching position kind of guy. And I can see him finding and landing a spot, like I said, in the dying embers, post-draft, preseason. So the cards are in the hands of everybody that's looking for a potential coach in the NFL. Bill Belichick he's looking for a job. So NFL draft in Detroit. Got a podcast coming tomorrow with Robert Rocco, our NFL insider guy, guru. And I'm excited to see what he has to say. Excited to see what his expectations are for this 2024 NFL draft. There's a lot of good recruits coming up. So where are they going to land? What are certain teams going to do? What is the plan for the Lions? That's a big question I have for Robert. He's a big Lions guy, always has been through thick and thin. I got to give him credit. He has been through the dark times with the Detroit Lions, and he's been a fan ever since, all the way through. So we'll see what he has to say tomorrow when we talk to him, and we're looking forward to it. Last but not least, we got to talk about the Raptors player, Jontay Porter, banned from the NBA for violating gaming rules from the NBA. The league, they made an announcement earlier this week basically saying, listen, this guy is out, okay? He pulled a Pete Rose. He knows what he did, and the writing is on the wall. Unfortunately for Jontay, everything is documented. Everything is written. You got paper trails like no other, digital paper trails, not physical paper trails anymore like you used to have back in the day, but the term's still used for digital. So this is what happened. Very interesting story. I was kind of amazed when I saw this, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of players might be doing this to some extent. Okay, so the league's investigation found that prior to the Raptors' March 20th game, Porter disclosed confidential information about his own health status to an individual he knew to be an NBA bettor. Another individual with whom Porter associated and knew to be an NBA bettor subsequently placed an $80,000 parlay proposition bet with an online sports book to win $1.1 million, wagering that Porter would underperform in the March 20th game. The league's investigation also found that Porter limited his own game participation to influence the outcome of one or more bets on his performance in at least one Raptors game. In the March 20th game, Porter played only 3 minutes, claiming that he felt ill. Due to the unusual betting activity and actions of the player, the $80,000 proposition bet was frozen and not paid out. So that's kind of based on the league's investigation, diving in and seeing what, it's kind of in a weird way. It's very similar, if not identical, to insider trading. Hey, buy this stock. We're going to pump it up tomorrow and it's going to go up. Trust me. So just saying that, having communication with people that are in the room, flies on the wall, word gets around. Word gets around if things are fishy. So he pulled a little bit more than a Shohei Ohtani or a Pete Rose in this situation. Pulled it kind of out of the same playbook, but he kind of did it in his own way. So Jontay Porter banned from the NBA. He's done. He's gone. No redemption period. There's no grace. And he's done. So what is the lesson to be learned here? Be careful who you tell things to. And I guess at the end of the day, my question is, what did Jontay have to gain from this transaction? He's obviously an NBA player. He's got his whole career ahead of him. What does he have to gain? What does he have to gain? Knowing the risks, knowing the, consequences of those risks, he went forward with it anyway. Hey, respect. Respect, but you do the crime, you do the time. Cool. Good deal. Well, we had to touch on that because that was our little betting piece that we had to kind of clear up with the people, because careful insider trading, careful of that type of business because it's fishy. It's funny money. You don't want to embark in those kinds of journeys. So lessons to be learned all over the place. Do I think he needs to be banned from the NBA because the bet was frozen? Maybe a slap on the wrist, maybe a fine, something. But banned. Wow. That's ruthless. Adam Silver rules the NBA with an iron fist, and we see that clearly here. The GSN Challenge 5 is June 8th, 2024. I've been plugging it every podcast, every chance I get. Get your two-man scramble team together today and get locked in for the GSN Challenge 5, the 5th edition of the GSN Challenge, previously the Corona Challenge. And we're happy to bring it back to Briar Ridge. Going to be a hell of a tournament. And I'm excited to see who comes out, who shows out, and who will be putting on the jackets come the end of it. So get your teams locked in immediately. The form is on the website, ginsportsnetwork.com. And we'll see you guys there on June 8th. So check it out, get registered, and get involved. Cool. Well, I'll leave it at that, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into this edition of the Gin Sports Network podcast. I'm your host, as always, John J. II. Have a great night.